What would you do if everything you loved was taken from you in the blink of an eye? Would your faith remain unshaken, or would it crumble under the weight of despair? This is the story of Job, a man whose faith was tested like never before. Prepare to be inspired, because you won't believe how he endured it all. Welcome to another episode of our Bible series. Our story begins in the ancient land of Uz. Job was a man of great wealth, wisdom, and integrity. He was known throughout the land as someone who feared God and shunned evil. Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and his household was blessed with an abundance of livestock and servants. His life seemed perfect. He was the epitome of prosperity and faith. But little did he know, his world was about to change drastically. One day, in the realms of the heavens, God was holding court with his angels. Among them was Satan, the adversary. God asked Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him, blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." Satan smirked and replied, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not put a hedge of protection around him and his household? Take away all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." And so, with permission from God, Satan was allowed to test Job. In a single day, calamity struck. One messenger came running to inform Job that raiders had stolen his oxen and donkeys, killing the servants who were tending them. Another messenger followed, reporting that fire from the sky had burned up his sheep and more servants. A third arrived to announce that Chaldean raiders had taken his camels and killed yet more servants. And finally, the most devastating news of all, a powerful wind had caused the house of his sons and daughters to collapse, killing them all. Job, overcome with grief, tore his robe and shaved his head in mourning. Falling to the ground, he did something extraordinary. He worshipped. He said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Despite losing everything, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. But Satan was not done yet. He returned to God and argued, "A man will give all he has for his own life. Strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you." Once again, God permitted Satan to test Job, but this time with limitations. He could not take Job's life. And so, Job was afflicted with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. His wife, unable to bear his suffering, said to him, "Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die." But Job replied, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. As Job sat in ashes, scraping his sores with a piece of broken pottery, 3 of his friends arrived: Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. They came to comfort him, but upon seeing Job's condition, they were speechless and sat with him in silence for 7 days and nights. When they finally spoke, their words were not comforting. Eliphaz suggested that Job must have sinned, saying, "Consider yourself. Who that was innocent ever perished?" Bildad and Zophar echoed this belief, urging Job to admit his guilt and seek God's forgiveness. But Job maintained his innocence, lamenting the day of his birth and crying out to God for answers. The debates went on, with each friend insisting that Job had brought this suffering upon himself. Job, however, clung to his belief in God's justice, even as he was confused and bewildered by his suffering. He declared, "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him." Finally, a younger man named Elihu spoke up. He rebuked both Job and his friends, arguing that suffering could be a form of divine discipline and that God's ways are beyond human understanding. Elihu's words were passionate, but they did not bring clarity to Job's situation. Then, after a long silence, God himself spoke to Job out of a whirlwind. The voice of the Almighty filled the air, asking, "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know." God's words were a reminder of his infinite power, wisdom, and sovereignty. He challenged Job to see the vastness of his creation and the mysteries that only he could comprehend. Humbled, Job responded, "Surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes." God then turned his attention to Job's friends. He rebuked them for their false counsel and instructed them to offer sacrifices. God declared that Job would pray for them, and his prayer would be accepted. In the end, God restored Job's fortunes. He gave him twice as much as he had before: 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 donkeys. Job was blessed with 7 more sons and 3 more daughters, whose beauty was said to be unmatched. Job lived a long, full life, seeing his children and their children to the 4th generation. So what can we learn from Job's story? It's a powerful reminder that faith is not about understanding every detail of God's plan, but trusting in his goodness and sovereignty even in the darkest of times. Job's unwavering faith and humility amid his suffering continue to inspire millions today. This is the story of Job. Faith in times of suffering. If this story moved you, share it with someone who might need encouragement today. Until next time, keep the faith. #Bible, Jesus. God, Jews. Christian, Christianity, faith.